Tim Petrovich, the Daily Republican, here with Marion head football coach Kerry Martin as we head into week 9, final week of the regular season. And I know we've mentioned this before, but golly, it's awful hard to believe that we're already in the last week of the regular season.
Where does it go? You know, it's amazing how you start off in all that hot weather and the unknown of a week 1 ball game against a opponent you've not really seen much of, and here we are week 9, and we know a lot about ourselves now and about our opponents and waiting on playoffs to start and all that stuff. But it's cold weather's kind of begun to set in, and so it's a great time of year, but it does go fast.
Herrin Tigers coming up, but first we need to talk about last week's game. Carbondale Terriers, final game of the South 7 Conference, and it wasn't the easiest game in the world.
They've been a good football team, a very competitive team all season long, and the games they've lost by close margins. And Coach Custer does a great job. He's got a son playing quarterback, and they've had a very efficient offense, and they run the ball well, and they do a lot of things that are kind of non-traditional stuff, a lot of tight splits and people pulling and trapping, and I thought they played a good ball game against us offensively. Fortunately, we were able to score some points, and Brett had a great day throwing the football, great night throwing the football, and the offensive line did a great job opening up some holes for our backs.
We've talked all year about, Brett does a good job managing the team, does a good job making decisions. Friday night was his night to shine from a standpoint of throwing the football. 6 out of 7, 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, and that was just in the first half.
And we don't not throw the ball because Brett can't. It's just we're kind of built and suited right now to be a run-oriented offense, and I think but people may be surprised at how well he can throw the football, and if we need him to, like we early in the game last week, we felt like we had some opportunities. And I think Brett can still have some big games this season to come, and that will be a great weapon for us to have in the playoffs. And I think maybe this Friday against Herrin, it may be a night we have to put the ball in the air a little bit, and we're not afraid to do it. We've got some good receivers. We're getting good protection up front, and Brett has been throwing the ball pretty well. So it's a nice thing to be able to showcase a little bit, and for teams who we might play down the road, including Herrin, just a chance to see him throw the ball adds another element they've got to cover.
We want to hurry up and get into that Herrin game because there's a lot of things surrounding this game to talk about from a 2010 standpoint, from a historical standpoint, obviously. First of all, talk about the Tigers. They're a team that really struggled early in the season to find their way, but the last few weeks they've been a pretty solid football team.
Yeah, well, they're a very good football team. I've watched them on film, and they're a very good football team. I saw them live week 1, and I was impressed by their team speed. And every year, they come and they give us a great ball game. We've had some very close ball games that could have gone either way the last few years. And so, they're playing their best football right now here towards the end of the season. They're playing with some confidence and some swagger, and they've got a lot of good running backs, talented quarterback, and they've got good size. One of the bigger teams we've seen, and good speed. So they've got a lot of things for us to take into account. And this will be a tough ball game for us. It's a tough way to end the season, but I think it's a good ball game to play as you prepare for the playoffs.
They've not only got good athletes over there, but their skill position players, for the most part, are pretty good size. Antoine Davis, the quarterback, is big. Yeah. DeMarlo Harris is obviously pretty big. So they've got size and a little bit of speed, and that's hard to combat.
They do. They remind me a little bit of the Althoff team. The big running backs, the big strong running backs, and some big linemen up front. And personnel-wise, that's what they remind me of. They do some things differently, of course, than Althoff, but personnel-wise, they remind me of that. They've got some big kids up front. 2 down tackles are very big kids, and this is a school that has produced some great track athletes and some great track teams. So of course they've got speed, they've got a lot of skilled kids, and they've got a number of weapons. You can't key on one guy. You've got to really watch the quarterback as a runner. The other running backs can run. The offensive line does a really good job, and so, and they're well coached as always. And so, as I said, they'll be a real challenge for us.
One thing probably that you can work on a little bit is they're not going to throw the ball like Althoff did, like Centralia did, obviously, even like Carbondale did a little bit last week. They're not maybe going to throw the ball as much, but that's still obviously one of their weapons. But they're going to be more run-oriented.
They are. They want to win the ball game running the football, and there's no doubt about that. But I think, they've shown the ability to hit you for a touchdown pass or to surprise you for a big play, and we've got to be ready for that. And so you have to defend it even though you don't expect to see much of it. And I think that's what they want you to do. They want you to kind of lose focus and focus on the run so much that they can hit a big play over the top on you. But they, as I said, they're a very athletic team, and so even those tight end type kids or some split end kids can be big play players if they can get the ball to them.
At week 9, there's not a whole lot of changing what you do. Obviously, you make a few minor adjustments for who your opponent is, but for the Wildcats, it's got to be just a matter of executing the plays and going out and carrying out the assignments.
Yeah, it really is. You know, a wrinkle here, a wrinkle there, but really this is about doing what you do. I mean, it would be crazy for us to start reinventing the wheel and doing something different and then walk off the field Friday with a bunch of regrets. You know, there's certain things our team can do well and does well, and we need to just take those things and make them even better. And our focus all week has been improving on details and taking care of the little things, because the little things all add up to the big things. And so we're talking about, you know, blocking techniques and receiver techniques and catching the ball and looking things in, and just those fundamentals we stressed early in the season. We've made sure this week that has been our focus. And yeah, you're exactly right. Just doing what we do and trying to do a little bit better.
1963 was a long time ago. I was barely alive, just a few months old, when the Marion Wildcats last had a 9-0 season. All year this year, you've worried about 1-0, 2-0, 3-0.
Right.
Now it's time to worry about 9-0. How much has the historic implications of this game, how much has that played into preparation and motivation for these kids?
I think you know, we're blessed in some ways that when you reach a milestone possibility like this is, that we don't have a lot of time to think about it. You know, if you were a college team waiting to play in a bowl game where you've got 4 to 6 weeks where you've got to worry about people talking about it, you know, this moves so quickly. We talk about it, we mention it, but it's just, there's so little time. You know, you go to school, you go to practice, you prepare for the next day, and you know, tomorrow, you know, is another day closer to it, and it just, to be honest, we really haven't had time to really sit back and think about the real legacy of this, or the ramifications of it if we achieve it. I think we've mentioned it, we think it's exciting, we hope it's a motivator for our kids, but we don't want it to put any added pressure on them. We want them to go out and win this game just because it's the Herrin Tigers, it's week 9, we would love to have the perfect record, but again, we've not changed our philosophy all year. One game at a time. Herrin just happens to be week 9. Week 9 could be historic for us, and if it happens, it happens. And so we're just going to kind of play it that way. And how much it's motivating them outside of us as a coaching staff, I don't know. But I know we'll talk about it before the game. But again, no added pressure. Just go out, execute, do what we do, and hopefully we'll get good news afterwards.
One of the things that I talked to Glenn Gibbons, who was a member of that 1963 team, and I think one of the things that he mentioned was the fact that when it got to this point in '63, this was the last game. There was nothing else for these kids, and so it put a lot more emphasis on this particular game and this achievement. For this year's Marion Wildcats, 9-0 will be a great thing if you can achieve that, but does it help maybe that there is a goal beyond Game 9 now, that you know that, you know, there's something else to shoot for besides 9-0? So if you don't get 9-0, it doesn't mean the end of the season and you're not going to put the pads on again. You've already clinched a spot in the playoffs, and there's a bigger fish to fry, I guess.
That's a good question. I mean, I think about our goal card. We have a card every year we put goals on. Being 9-0 was not a goal on that card. We had about 7 or 8 goals we put on there, and that was not one of them. We are so blessed to be in a situation where we might have a chance to achieve that, but we have goals beyond the regular season, and when our goal is to be an Elite 8 in the final 8 and then go beyond that, and that's our last goal on our card, is to make it to the final 8 in Class 5A and then go beyond the final 8 and try to get to that final semifinal ball game. And so in saying that, yeah, we have goals beyond this Friday. We have goals that I think are to our kids even more significant than the perfect regular season record. I can imagine back in those days before the playoffs how big this must have been, because this would be your championship game, your big playoff game. But for us, it's important. We would love to achieve it, of course. We all want to be a part of that legacy, that history. But even if we achieve it, we know we've got goals beyond this Friday.
In 1963, the Wildcats were 8-0 going into Game 9 at Herrin. In 2010, the Wildcats are 8-0 going into Week 9 at Herrin. The 63 game was 20-0. It was a shutout. You'd probably take that result, wouldn't you?
I'll take any kind of result we can get as long as it's a win. And then, and I know we've got to go out, we got to earn it. And we tell the kids that all the time. It doesn't matter. Herrin's going to be a very tough ball game. It's a game that we look forward to every year. It's a great rivalry game, but ultimately we got to go out and earn it by the way we play. And there's no extra points on the board because of your current record. It's just you got to go out and you got to earn every one every week, including week 9 against Herrin. So it'll be a hard-fought ball game, but I think we're ready for the challenge.
And the team always travels well. You always have good fan support on the road, but Herrin's almost like a home game as far as location, so I wouldn't see anything different there.
Oh, we expect a big crowd. We expect a big crowd on our side, and that always helps because our crowd's pretty noisy, and they kind of make it feel like a home game on that side of the field. So distance, no big deal in the travel. So it's a good place to play. It's a great surface to play on. It's a great facility. They're very hospitable when you come there, the way they take care of you. So that aspect of it, not a big deal. It's just a matter of executing the offensive and defensive and special team schemes and doing them better than Herrin does. And that's always the goal every week, is to just outplay and out-execute your opponent. And that's what we'll have to do to win the ball game.
Well, look forward to seeing you Friday night, and then in Week 10, and then maybe in Week 11, and so on.
We hope so.
Coach Kerry Martin of the Marion Wildcats for the Daily Republican. I'm Tim Petrovich.